So it begins. There is a hole in your mind.
What do you want?
No one here is exactly what he appears.
Nothing's the same anymore.
Commander Sinclair is being reassigned.
Why don't you eliminate the entire non-homo?
I see a great hand reaching out of the stars.
Who are
President Clark has signed a decree today declaring
These
martial
orders
law.
have forced us to declare independence.
Let's let people get off their encounter-suited butts and do something.
You are the one who was.
To Zahadu, who will die.
Why are you here? Do you have anything worth living for?
Think of my beautiful city of flames.
Giants in the playground.
Get the hell out of our galaxy!
We are here to place President Clark under arrest.
Hello and welcome to Chats, a television podcast, Season 6, Chatzylon 5. My name is Alan, and of all the things in life I could drown in, love, music, the eyes of another, Magellan's tears are the least appealing. Hello, Magellan. You're doing the pizza cry again. You can't not. Hi, Magellan. How are you?
Hey, I'm sad, man.
All right, you picked up your Sobble plushie, and now you're just permanently sad.
We went to the Nintendo store, and I got that little friend.
The little water crying frog from the new Pokemon game.
We're crying together. This is a Pokemon reference for the people who don't get it.
I got Grookey, who's a big, adorable frog who dances and hits the floor with his big stick.
He's not a frog, he's a monkey.
He's a monkey. Same thing. Monkey frog. What is the difference between monkeys and frogs?
I also got
really?
this delicious cough.
Yeah, hopefully I'm going to edit out all of
Hopefully
that.
you won't hear it one more time.
Hopefully you will never hear it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Except that I'll keep that one in just so they believe you.
Just for
it's not
context,
fake.
yeah.
Exactly. I'm going to need a lot of context this week, Magellan.
Okay.
Because we discussed some big episodes this week. As always, we watched 2 episodes of Babylon 5. We watched Season 5, Episode 13, The Core is Mother, The Core is Father. Mm-hmm. We also watched Season 5, Episode 14, Meditations on the Abyss. And The Core is Mother, The Core is Father is a pretty dense episode. So it looks like we're going to have to be joined this week by a man who is not the enemy. He simply is Pat.
Hello.
Hello, Pat. One half of the Brothers of Infinite War has joined us on the chat.
It'll never
Your
end.
motto should be Pat is brother, Nick is brother.
We have it laminated on the wall somewhere, I think.
Yeah, that's good.
Welcome to the show, Pat. How are you doing?
I'm well. Thank you very much for having me.
Of course.
So I want to reiterate for something that we said pre-show for the listeners, which is that so obviously Pat and Nick are locked in eternal combat as old as time itself. The forces of chaos and order, light and darkness, existence, non-existence, and who knows which one's which.
Being and unbeing. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Pat and Nick have talked amongst themselves certainly about when they'd like to be appearing on Chatzylon 5, and we're going to have Nick on in a couple weeks, and Nick was under the impression he was going to scoop you, sir.
Yeah,
he's having a one-of-a-kind podcast experience right now.
On the Psycore episode, that's where I play the mind games with my brother, yes.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, you planned this. You planned this.
Yeah,
I
it
knew
turns
it.
out you're a mind flayer.
Yes,
whatever
that's with the... if only we had some audio-visual recording of the telepathic fight that we're in, yes.
Oh my God.
I don't want to see it.
I don't want to see it.
In my experience, it does not enrich
No,
anything.
Maybe not.
So, as with all of our guests on our podcast, I want to ask you, what's your history with Babylon 5? And also, why did you choose this episode to discuss?
So I'll try to not say everything so Nick has something to say, because I imagine there'll be a lot of repeating.
Sure.
But Nick and I, my father, we watched all sorts of Star Trek and science fiction movies. It wasn't one that we wouldn't watch. And we would watch Babylon 5 after we watched the first movie, but I think it was like about season 4 that there was like a local station that actually picked it up and played it 5 days a week. And all of our friends who would hear about it from us, they all got a chance to like watch it and get caught up in time for season 4 ending, I think. So it was kind of like, school talk was getting caught up with it before it was just the two of us talking to each other about Babylon 5. And also we missed episodes. So that was, it really was kind of a catalyst for sci-fi geeking under the stairway in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Living
where you
the
hide your
dream.
shame.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. And then season 5, which I know I've defended to people who say it's not the greatest. And like I watched it. It was the season I watched completely new, so I had quite a fondness for it. But it did feel very disconnected. But I like it quite a bit. But yeah, my brother and I have always watched science fiction together, and this is one of our favorites. Rewatch it all the time.
That's really wholesome.
Yeah.
And then, so this is an episode about telepaths and telepath battles. Was there anything about this one in particular that compelled you to ask to be on it?
Well, like you said, it's a really dense one, but it's so disconnected from Babylon 5. It's kind of like a really good experiment. I'd like to imagine in a perfect world, it was like a backdoor pilot for the Psychor show, as the opening credits might have, led me to believe. But it's just there's so much going on. Bester's a great character, and 90s television was episodic. Babylon 5 did serialized, and I think it was ahead of its time to do an episode about the bad guy being the main character. They didn't do that in the 90s yet.
It's a really interesting episode. I didn't actually catch that title sequence until reading about it right afterwards, and then I went back and I felt like they had planted a subliminal message in my head, which I think is the intended effect.
I missed. What was it? I missed it.
So, the opening of the show is a normal Babylon 5 opening, and then
and then when it says "There's a hole in your mind," it goes,
I put it there.
I did that. No,
was
it's
me.
instead of like the Babylon 5 sword logo, it pulls up the Psychor logo and it says "Trust the Core."
Oh no!
Yeah, go back and check that shit out. It's fucking.
Oh,
it's
I don't
a little
want
scary.
to.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Because they don't change the audio, so when you're like me and you're like getting ready to take notes and you're like considering fast forwarding through the credits, it's like, oh, hold on. I posted a picture of it for Magellan to look at.
No.
But yeah, it's a weird one. But to get into it, The Core's Mother, The Core's Father was written by J. Michael Straczynski. It was directed by our boy Stephen Furst. Veer directed this one, which is excellent. It aired April 15th, 1998.
He directs a lot of good ones, I feel like.
He super does, yeah.
They give him the weird ones.
They don't give him the ones that he's in, though. They give Michael Vehar those. And it took place from June 24th to June 29th, 2262. Magellan, what happened in The Core's Mother, The Core's Father?
In this episode, with a pair of trainee Psychops in tow, Bester pursues a murderous rogue telepath to Babylon 5. Alan, what'd you think of The Core's Mother, The Core's Father?
Yeah, I thought this was exciting. I thought this is what I want out of season 5. Give me a focus away from the ship, the station itself. Give me characters I didn't think I cared about, and then I found myself a little bit invested in. There's some weird performances in here, but for once, it wasn't Bester who I didn't like. I think Bester is like Walter Koenig, top of his game this episode. It's his interns, intern Chen and Ashley, who I feel like were hit or miss for me. In that one of them was hit and killed and one of them was not. But it's a very exciting episode. It has a lot of really great lines also. It was like full of choice quotes for me. Pat, I want to turn it to you though, since you're our guest. What did you, well on this rewatch, because I'm assuming you also rewatched this one.
Yes.
What did you think?
And why'd you choose it also?
No, please.
Well, one of the reasons I would choose this episode, just because I was hoping Magellan would call it the Core's daddy, the Core's mommy, but that's a missed opportunity. But no, I think it's just maybe the secondary characters aren't the greatest, but it is very much like it's another day in the life episode of Babylon 5 extended to the Core. And I always really liked it just because it's it's a bit more of a procedural, but it's kind of a detective novel for the Psychor, which, how do they go about their work, and, how many mundanes do they kill in a day? And if they even think about it later, like, that's just fun for evil purposes.
Yeah. I mean, just getting to see business as usual.
Yeah.
And realizing that, like, Bester, straight up Bester has probably been on Babylon 5 and not told anyone before. Like, he doesn't always have to announce that he's coming on. Yeah, he's like, I have business, and then I'm gonna leave. Guys, don't make a big deal out of it. Like, this is just this is a regular day. For
the end of day report. Zach's like, oh, by the way, Bester was here like earlier, and they were like, what?
What?
Yeah. And you didn't tell Garibaldi? Nope, for a good reason.
He was busy. He was busy ordering a delicious pizza in the second episode
with maybe pepperoni. Yes.
Magellan, what about you? Any standouts?
I thought that this episode was delightful. Oh my gosh. I feel like I've been totally up and down on Bester every single appearance that he's had.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad to finally say that I like Bester. He's good.
Maybe if you're going to call him, you can call him Al.
I also, yes, really enjoyed that his boss calls him Al.
Oh,
yeah, that's true.
delicious.
It should have been played by Chevy Chase, I'm afraid.
For sure. So we opened in Psychor HQ, and I actually legitimately thought we were going to stay there for the whole episode. I was like really excited by that prospect because Bester's introduced to the interns, Jen and Ashley, and they talk about how like, oh, I thought everything would be like way more sad, and you guys would be like, because like telepaths are sad, and he says reports of our depression are greatly exasperated, which I can't relate to that. Sorry.
And I always wonder how many times in this show they use the idiom of like, this has been greatly exaggerated.
Yeah, this is definitely like the third time at least,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, for the first time ever. Yes.
It's like it's the first time that I'm pretty sure the villain in this episode is the first person of color on Babylon.
Oh no. Oh
I'm
no.
so canceled. I'm so canceled.
You are canceled. There were a lot of nice Bester character moments that sold things about Bester to me that I hadn't really believed before. Like I think I remember not really buying his whole like, oh my god, I'm in love with the frozen woman thing. But then to see, what was her name? Lauren? Is that the psycho?
Lauren Ashley.
Yeah, to see Lauren like aggressively proposition him, which we can talk about that.
Yeah.
But to see that happen, and then to see his reaction to it, it's like, okay, I guess he really does love that person that I didn't believe he was in love with. So that was cool. And then, yeah, I really love the angle on Bester that we started to see in the Byron plot, and that got fleshed out further here of like, he's a really effective strategist, and he's a super intelligent guy, but he just has this one fatal blind spot where he thinks that every single telepath is a great person who loves being a cop, and that's just not the case. And there's something about that like fatal flaw that I find really humanizing about him, even if at the same time he's talking about like, yeah, it doesn't bother me to see dead mundane bodies anymore. They're worthless. They're scum compared to us. And at the end, Lauren spaces the one guy, and he's like, yeah, pretty good job. Good doing the murder. But yeah, the Bester development I thought was a really strong point here.
Yeah, he's a good focus on this episode, which they highlight very quickly because people are asking him like, what do you think about like what's going on in Babylon 5, or like, do you know where this stuff is going? They ask him Babylon 5, and he says pretty much to the camera, not literally, but basically he says not everything is about Babylon 5. And that was the moment where I was like, is this just like Bester doing a regular day of work? And then inevitably, the way that TV works is you have to go back to your sets. So
it was fun to kind of like see the same or a very similar transition shot of the exterior of Babylon 5 and have a totally different reaction to it. Because usually you're like, yes, the symbol of peace, we're here. But this time it's like, oh, those hoity-toity jerks. They think they're the center of everything. Ugh, I don't even want to be here.
Right.
I felt Bester's opinion of it, which I thought was fun.
I mean, I think they put out these pamphlets for some reason. It's like, come have adventures at Babylon 5, and I don't know, what they're advertising necessarily. Like,
yeah, right.
For Earth, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like, come watch Lurkers. I don't know.
Come to the down below where we don't know how to deal with class.
Our homeless are prettier than your homeless, I guess.
Yeah, right.
So while he's still on the HQ, he takes the interns to two telepaths this is the scene that is just the dumbest effects of this whole episode. Two telepaths having a mind war, basically testing each other to like extended exposure to somebody trying to break into your mind to like kind of improve your ability to block that. Mm-hmm. And at first it's just like the classic Babylon 5 telepaths, two people staring at each other, and then the interns are like, may I see it? And he's like, yes. And then they like get close, and we see like CG tentacles climbing into CG shields.
Oh my god.
Just don't. I hate this.
I mean, I thought the same, like kind of the cheesiness of it, and I won't pretend to have thought this myself, but it was somebody had put up like on the Lurkers Guide being like the tentacle attack was very reminiscent of Shadow like ships.
It looked like that.
And there was a crystalline defense similar to the Vorlon like Peace Lady.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool, but it didn't look good. I mean, it didn't age well.
Those are also just super traditional depictions of like good and evil, right?
But,
Like
but then
crystals
it made me wonder, like, why were the effects reminiscent of them? You
yeah,
know?
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, it does look like the Shadows and it does look like the Vorlons, but there wasn't a clear
To what purpose?
purpose for that visual, which is part of why I was like, ah.
Well, maybe
The same digital
we wanna-
effects studio.
yeah, that, and
I
if you
see,
want to
yeah.
galaxy brain it, if the telepaths were made by the Vorlons, and that's why their shields look like Vorlon shields, or I don't know, like
Oh, okay, sure.
you can play around with it. You can think about it like that. And then there's a really funny scene where he takes the interns to a private movie theater, and it's a video of a man named Gordon who's like, this is basically like that thing in The Simpsons where the guy's like, "Hi, what's the famous
Troy
guy?
McClure.
Troy McClure, yeah.
Hi, I'm Troy McClure. You may know me from such hits as Being a Sad Homeless Man." It's literally the
Yeah.
actor with a bad wig.
That is in my notes for this episode. Like, great Psychor, bad wig. Yeah.
Exactly, and it's just like, I was terrible. And then Psychor found me. Now I'm slightly clean shaven. Like, I'm handsome
Okay,
now.
can I ask a potentially stupid question?
Yes.
So I know that he had an American accent,
Uh-huh.
but didn't we learn, Alan, accidentally that Byron's full name was like Gordon Byron or something?
Different
Like,
Byron.
So this wasn't Byron,
Right.
this guy?
I did think that, and then I was like, then the timeline doesn't line up at all.
Why not?
Because that video was made a little while ago, and Byron's already younger than that. Like that guy was like looked a little bit older than Byron did.
Oh, I thought he looked younger than Byron.
I would say I thought he looked younger.
But I don't think it's him. I think that might just end up being a common name. And also, they never said. I don't think they ever said that Byron's name was Gordon Byron or Byron Gordon in the show.
In the show, no, but in the wiki it says that, right?
Yeah, but according to the wiki, this is a different character.
Okay.
So,
Because I think that would have made that scene stronger if it was like, that
was Byron. Hold
he's
on,
dead.
yeah.
Whoops.
Or
There
maybe he
is
was just playing Byron in a play with a bad wig. It could be his story.
Oh, very possible. Sure.
No.
There is a moment in one of the Babylon 5 comics that a listener sent to us that I read, like the one that's the telepath pamphlet, where it's like, and here's little Al, and it's Bester, and you're like, wait, holy crap, he's like one of the first telepaths. I'm scared.
Well, I wanted to ask you, like, because I remember you mentioned you had read that. Like, is that line up with him saying his parents were killed when he was like 2 or something?
Yeah, I'm 90% sure it does line up. I could definitely.
Okay, because I'm
reference it and get back to you.
curious if like he's like, oh, I've been told my parents died when I was young, but like the Corps totally killed his parents and took him. Like that's how
they must have, right? Like
Yeah.
they totally lied to him.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And he at this point he must have done the same thing.
Oh, to others, yes.
Yeah. So like, I wonder if he really believes that anymore. If he's like choosing to believe it, or what's up with him.
Corps' mother, Corps' father.
Yeah, so much of the fascinating stuff about this episode, I think, is seeing how Psychor's ideals have been reflected in Bester, and how he's like, yeah, I know that like morally it's bad to be okay with killing people, but like it is my job to tell this girl that it's okay that she's spaced and mundane, because we need to further that narrative, or
And
else
he
this
had a
whole thing
really
collapses.
annoying accent.
Yes. Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, yes. That's the other reason. Exactly. So we get that weird scene that's interrupted by a lady being like, hey, and I love that she's whispering, but you can basically hear everything she's saying. She's like, hey, Bester, some shit's going down. A guy
Yeah.
died. And there's a telepath that was killed by someone. We see Bester's boss call him Al, which we thought was fun. It turns out the killer was a student of Bester's, and he consoles the guy's partner, which shows us that Bester is, I guess, like a revered member of the telepath community. This makes sense, right?
Yeah, that tracks.
And then we get another fantastic scene of Bester not in outfit. He's in a sweater.
Oh, I love that dad sweater. Holy moly.
Dad sweater, one glove.
One glove, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the one glove, I was like, what's going on there?
I think
he,
it was
like, didn't-
damaged.
Yeah, when the guy gave him the paper, he like only used his ungloved hand to open the paper.
Right.
So,
Because
yeah, it's something.
I think he like didn't want to touch it or something with the clean hand, with the clean gloved hand. I don't know. But the intern Ashley comes in, Lauren Ashley. The thing is that like the wiki always refers to people by last names, but she has 2 first names, so I kept getting like confused. Right. He calls her Lauren in the episode, and she initially I was like, is she flirting with him or am I reading too much into this? And then she's like, I should really stay somewhere. Can I stay here? And I'm like, stop.
By the way, I'm definitely flirting with you.
Yeah.
Illegal.
Definitely don't look up the age difference if you want.
Oh, I'm certain she's like in her late teens, early 20s. Like, there's no way that's not.
I thought that, and when I looked it up, I thought she was gonna be like low 20s, but she was like 36, and he was 66. So it's still gross, but not as gross.
Yeah, I mean that means that they're both entirely consenting adults
Well,
talking
but
about this.
There's no way her character is 36.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because if you get them, they have them into the Corps when they're young, and then being trained.
Yes,
yeah.
And if she's still an intern, she has to be in her like 20s or teens.
So is the process here like you're in the Psy Corps, and then these two are like, we want to be Psy cops specifically?
I mean, is it not like if you're a P12, I think you're automatically like lined up like a career path to become one.
Yeah, it was just interesting to me that they were like being shown the ropes, like the most basic first day ropes, when they didn't seem like kids, you know? I mean, they seemed like 20-something, like college age people.
Very naive college kids, but yes, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's kind of hard to tell, but I think because what was more interesting to me was like we know that there are obviously mundanes, and then there are telepaths who are like recruited early or recruited at whatever age, and most of them either just get put into the war machine or are just in training for years and go to the academy. These are like, okay, these are people who are out of the academy, and I'm sure you have multiple job options when you get out of the academy. You don't have to be a Psy cop, I think. But that's what they're choosing to do is basically like, we want to take Bester's job eventually. Not take it, but like work with him.
So they've been having some kind of more like theoretical training, and now they're
doing on practice. It's like their residency.
I see. That I can buy that.
That was at least how I squared it. But I did, like I said, I really liked all this stuff, and it's even just cool seeing like how do people view Bester in the telepath community? Like, what do people think of him? Because his boss has this sort of like charming, like, oh, Bester, like you're a great guy, but like get the job done. I know you will. Because after the woman flirts with him and leaves, someone immediately knocks on his door and he's like, I said no, I don't want to have sex with you, you 15-year-old. And his boss was like, I don't want to either. His boss comes in and is like, hey, Bester, go do this job for me. There's this guy. His name is... What was Jonathan Harris.
Do you guys know the story about the name?
No. It sounds familiar. What is the story with Jonathan Harris?
It's a real life person, but it was I think it was like a contest where a fan's name got to be used as a character. So there was a Babylon 5 fan that's his name, and he's like, "Yay, I'm a psychic."
I'm a really I'm a fucked up
faceted character. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, there you go. That's how it's written on the casting sheet. You're multifaceted. Exactly right. Oh God, that guy is something. We got to talk about Jonathan, because he's actually he's in one of the first scenes of the episode too, where he is like in his room and then he kills the roommate. We see that scene briefly happen, and he's like, "They said I have to do it." Blah blah.
Yeah.
We meet him on Babylon 5. I like that we kind of like the way we go back to Babylon 5 is not by seeing Bester get there. It's by like Harris is already here and he's already kind of starting to get ingrained and he has friends and stuff, and he's trying to gamble, and he does the classic like, hey fellas, how do you gamble? Hustles everybody. I was like, is he gonna hustle everyone? And then he does. Gets beat up by a dude who's like, hey, you're not allowed to hustle people, that's bad. He destroys that man with telepathy power. Like, we're talking bloody eyes, we're talking really bad effects, we're talking shaking, yelling, all the good stuff, and then he just passes out and dies. I always think it's weird the way that they show like violence through telekinesis and telepathy, because the bloody eyes thing looked really fake. It looked really fake.
Yeah, it was a little cut to like zoom in so you don't notice the bad change up.
They kept cutting back to it too. That was part of it. Like in that whole sequence, they cut to him going, and then they cut back, and the eyes are a little more bloody, and then back, and then they did it again. I stopped looking because I was like, "Look, this is disgusting."
Stop showing me this.
It definitely reminded me of like early days Conan O'Brien skits where he would do bits like that. It looked as good.
Totally. Where the gag is like, oh, the effects are like, look how bad this looks.
Right.
Yeah.
There's pancake on his face all of a sudden. Yeah.
And then there's another dude who witnesses this from a corner who I was like, they really held on to that plot reveal for a long time to the point where I felt like it was never revealed in a satisfying way. What's the deal with that guy? I mean, it was like, what's the deal with him being the accomplice and the double personality thing? But
I don't even remember what his
it's
deal
not
was.
Yeah, it's not convincing of like how they would meet up and he wouldn't immediately be a threat to him, like that they would work together.
Exactly right.
Wait, so did that guy have a thing, or was he just like a criminal guy?
I think he's just a criminal guy.
Yep.
With him.
Because he was like, I'm going to take advantage of the personality in Harris's mind that is like ignorant and wants to work with me. And then the other one, when it comes through, I'm just going to get away and then let him do his thing. And we'll split the money and I'll be rich.
So he like figured out that there was a multiple thingy going on.
Would you say that's correct, Pat?
I don't think so. I think he was like me. He's ignorant to be like, telepaths must be good at games. He probably doesn't think it has to be anything special. He's just like, that's a telepath.
He's just taking advantage of
Yeah,
someone.
he's like, that's just a rogue telepath. I'm going to work with him. I don't think he's aware of the danger maybe he was in.
Yeah, that's fair. That was the guy who you were talking about that has the bad accent, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to be rich, you see?
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone.
It was funny because the guy he killed had that exact same bad accent, and
Yes.
I was like, okay, we're good. And then that guy also was like, "Oi, all right, give me the money."
Right. Yeah. Everybody in the down below.
All of the down below like white guys have the same accent of like, hello, I'm in the down below. And you're like, all right. Thanks, Ryan Slawinski from the Spin Polish podcast. Hi, Ryan. Once Bester gets on the ship, he speaks to a Drazi man who takes a bribe from him and tells him he sold Harris a fake identity card. This is a dumb scene where the intern guy is like, I'm going to take initiative and get promoted really fast. This is a good idea. I'm going to catch the criminal without Bester.
Yeah.
They walk into the dark room that they suspect that he's in, and he literally trips over a dead body.
And then, screams into it. Like, that'll get rid of it.
Like, yeah, he like lies down next to it and yells into it. It's such a weird like directorial thing. I don't know.
Yeah, commercial break rules say that you have to do that.
Right, you have to. It ends with a scream. That was the moment where I was like, this guy just dies, right? Like this guy totally dies. Bester makes the like 10 leaps of 4-dimensional chess logic and says the reason that Harris is killing the people he's killing is to get info from them because he wants to steal as much money as he can and get off the station immediately. So he killed the gambling guy so he could learn how to gamble, and then he killed the...
But that's not even how it works. He just had to kill that guy because he snuck up on him.
Right. Yeah, he's making guesses about like how things are supposed to work. He sends Lauren and Chen to do some recon. The bartender informs Chen. This is a very weird scene. Chen gets like all the weirdest scenes in this episode because he goes to the Zocalo, and the bartender, who's like the strangest extra I've seen on the show in a while.
Yes, he stood out to me.
Yeah, it feels like he's a special character because he's like, "Hey, how's it going, buddy? Hold on, don't cut the camera yet. No, before I tell you the info, let me tell my jokes first." He's like fighting for screen time.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, the Pac Maraz hump is a big dick.
It's a huge penis.
Come back, come back."
Yeah,
it's so weird. I love that guy. And then Chen gets into a corner and gets... This was weird. This was like framed strangely to me because Chen gets punched. It looks like he's getting punched square in the stomach by the guy who's working with Harris. And I was like, wait, and then like the next shot is someone being like, yeah, he died. And I'm like, wait, did he die from getting like lightly punched? And then we see in the security footage that he got stabbed.
Well, it's odd in that they're saying that like, oh, he managed to turn on the Babcom and it recorded the guy's hand stabbing him, but like the Babcom would have been like down the hall looking at him. It's weird.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like couldn't we just get a slightly wider angle on that Babcom?
Yeah.
Yeah, zoom out Babcom. Thank you. And And then everyone's like, why aren't you sad? Your intern died. And that's where Bester just can't not be extra. He's just like, of all the things in life I could drown in, love, music, the eyes of another, crocodile tears are the least appealing. Bester, this is a Wendy's.
Zach Allen really comes across in this episode as a jerk.
Oh, extremely. To the point where he later is like, yeah, I'm racist. And then they're like, God, he said it.
Yeah. And then he just definitely justifies like how they can talk to mundanes in that sense. I mean, not justify, but like it bounces back and forth between them.
Right. And so the plot just kind of cranks right along. We learn that the guy who stabbed Chen is named Bryce, which is a fun sci-fi, not a sci-fi name. Hey guys, it's me, Bryce.
I had a coworker named Bryce at my last job.
Yeah.
Did he have a hand tattoo?
Sorry, what?
I was asking if he had a hand tattoo, but
No. I
okay.
don't think he had a tattoo at all.
Didn't you say that all of your coworkers secretly have cool tattoos?
At my current school, yeah, tons of people have tattoos.
That's really awesome.
What? When did everybody get a tattoo?
Are we talking
you didn't
like
know,
full
Miguel?
sleeves so you can like get
Some
real with
people
them?
have big sleeves, but some people they just have like a secret one tattoo.
What's your Babylon 5 tattoo that if you had to get one?
Oh God, I think it might be the chorus mother, the chorus father, right?
Right on the tramp stamp?
Right on the tramp stamp.
Absolutely.
I would do a full sleeve of Nagrath from season 1. Just the bug bargaining man who we presumably dead.
I would get "There's a hole in your mind" just across my forehead.
All right, the Joker now.
Do you have it like backwards so that you read it in the mirror?
Yeah.
I would have on my butt and "Get your encounter suited butts out of here."
Yeah, you could cover your whole body in Babylon 5 references if you wanted to.
Oh man, there's so many.
I do a dance routine where I have all the quotes from the season 5 opening and I reveal them as it plays.
It's like those hand videos way back in the day on YouTube where they do a whole song lyrics on the different parts of the fingers.
Yeah.
Oh
exactly.
yes, the Daft Punk.
Yes. Or yeah. Wow, deep YouTube references. Deep cuts.
Absolutely.
This whole like Harris revealing like why he is doing bad things is really it's really like nothing. Because we learned that he is it's not like absorbing personalities, he just has two personalities in him. One was a P10 and one was a P12, hence why he was never classified as a P12, even though he's dangerous enough to be. So he killed his roommate because his roommate found out, and he's getting off of Babylon 5 because he wants to run away from Psychor because they're going to kill him probably, or like, dissect his brain. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because he says, I woke up in the testing center and I literally don't remember anything that happened before that. So my life is not mine, which is like, it's pretty scary to think about, but I just feel like that's territory that Babylon 5 has gotten into before, which is like that the fact that telepaths don't have a lot of autonomy. But it's important. It's important, like, as we're talking this season so much about telepaths, to remember, like, the way that they treat the average person and the people with extra special abilities is really effed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have absolute devotion, but you have no free will, even inside the core, right?
Right. The core is mother and the core is father.
Right.
It doesn't believe in gender. Bester actually seems happy when Zach is like, yeah, I hate telepaths. And he's like, yeah, I told you. Now we have a mundane saying it. We literally have a staff on Babylon 5 saying they don't like us. Why would we ever trust you guys? F you guys.
Yeah.
Which we don't see Zach doing that, but we've known for a while that he's not okay with these people, which is again sad because he had this thing for Lita, and it's like now he just is firmly racist.
Yeah.
Right. Do you think that's like he's better about being rejected? I don't know.
Yes, I kind of think that.
Yeah,
I kind of think
yeah.
that.
Yeah, he sees Byron with his like Manson like cult down below, and he's like, "What does he got that I don't have besides pizza?"
I bought her a pizza.
Yeah.
Hey, Lita, I bought this pizza.
I know it's not about this episode, but I just reminded me to say that I always thought Byron's death, the martyrdom, you guys perfectly nailed it with the whole, like, he kills himself. It's not really that fulfilling. But.
Exactly. If he dies in like a heroic way, then it's like, okay, that's how martyr works. But when you're like, I'm gonna hold this grenade and die, that's like, dude.
I think
literally.
I already forgot about that.
I always thought it would have been better if he was about to hurt Bester and then Garibaldi's programming made him kill Byron. Cause
Sure.
would have been
That's a
that would
great.
be
That's a
lit.
way
that would have
better
been a
idea.
perfect reason for him to start drinking. I mean, as well as other things. But yeah.
Oh my god! You just wrote a better.
Damn, that would have been good.
That would have been very good. Meanwhile, we just get Garibaldi. Sadly, we'll talk about it.
There has to be some payoff to the Garibaldi can't let Bester die thing, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shows never get canceled.
Oh no! Shows don't end prematurely and then have to just cut the season short. I keep getting anxious about the fact that we're more than halfway through this season, and I'm like, wait, no, there's a lot. There's a lot left.
There's a lot.
Yeah, it's like
There's a lot.
basically done.
Yeah. I mean, this episode is basically like two-parter episode because there's so much going on. So we're going at a beatnik space.
Yeah.
And then we end on this very strange note that I wanted to
By
talk
the way,
to both
a
of y'all about.
beatnik's pace would be like, hey man, Garibaldi, whiskey, death,
Pepperoni.
cheese. I don't know that joke.
No, that was awesome. I loved it.
That was fantastic. Thank
Yeah.
you. I wanted to ask both of you about what you thought about this next scene where Bester's going back and they just can't help but make this Lauren girl extremely horny for Bester because she's like, when we get back, you deserve a back rub. It's like,
Oh my goodness.
oh,
Not
God.
necessary. Not necessary. And he was like, no, I'm good.
Yeah. Didn't you remember I told you no before?
I said no. I can't help but be that person and be like, if this was like a guy saying about that to a girl, then it would be like comical, like, ugh, get over yourself.
Right. If Ivanova was the target.
Yeah. And it was like Corwin. Oh God.
Yeah, you can't help but, it may not be this, but you can't help but feel that there's a kind of like male wish fulfillment fantasy thing of like, I want to be the wise old dad sweater guy.
People come
It's
to,
like-
yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's like,
I definitely do get the impression that, like, because he's almost been idolized by the Corps. Like, he's probably on posters everywhere being like, this is the model member of our society, where he's definitely got, like, you know, the hero complex that, like, everybody looks up to him, right?
yeah.
So, yes, definitely the male fantasy being played, but you can see where it comes from.
It makes sense in the fiction also.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's just creepy.
Then he's like, all right, well, we're going to get back now and it's going to be great. We got to get rid of Bryce. Let me do it though, because you've never done this before. And she's like, can I take care of Bryce? And he's like, yeah, I mean, you should probably do it at some point to learn. And the way this is framed is so good because it's like we zoom out. She goes like to the back of the ship. We zoom out, and then we just see Bryce's body slowly float out into hyperspace.
And his hands are just moving a bit, like he's clinging for life.
Yeah. And then she comes back in, and he just looks at her and goes, "You're first?" And she's like, "Yep." And he's like, "No, that's how I know you're going to be a good fit for the Psi Corps." I'm like, oh God, chilling, truly chilling.
It's great.
This is the good stuff. This is like, if you're gonna show Psi Corps as like comically evil, then you gotta do stuff like that. That's gonna sell it better to me when we're fighting them later, or when B5 is having to fight them later. Because I assume that's where it's gonna go, right? That makes sense to me. It's like, it's not just telepaths versus mundanes, or telepaths versus rebels. It's like mundanes on Babylon 5 specifically.
Well, yeah, and we learned that Psi Corps basically has like a Babylon station just secretly chilling in hyperspace.
Oh yes, the mothership.
Yeah.
Oh God, the mothership. Love it. The Corps is mothership. The Corps is fathership.
Is that the
But yeah,
name of
I
this
think-
chat's episode? I think so.
Mothership,
Yeah.
fathership. I always wish that we went back and just named every episode of the podcast, but oops, too late. We're already stuck in this really weird, like, arcane numbering thing.
It's our show, bro. We can do whatever we want.
Well,
I mean,
you know what I want to do, Magellan?
What do you
Is
want to do?
I want to ask you if you have any stray notes on this episode.
I don't. I do not.
Pat, we kind of flew through it. I was wondering if there's anything that you wanted us to go back and talk about.
We hit a lot of the things that I had made notes about, but I have a fun JMS quote.
Please.
Yes.
So when he was asked, you know, when he wanted to write this episode, you know, a different POV, and this quote I like to jumped out, and he says, Bester is not a nice guy, but not everyone seems not everyone sees him in that light, which is why I did one episode from inside the Psi Corps this season to show how others in the Psi Corps see him. Even Hitler painted roses. And I was like, yes, this is the internet. Someone has to play the Hitler card for Bester. Absolutely.
Ugh. Shucks, JMS, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I think I read that quote somewhere. God damn.
It might have been on the bottom of the Lurker's Guide.
Oh yeah, possibly. I gotta go back to reading Lurker's Guide pages because some of that stuff is really. It's just this. It's so hard to parse because the web page is like just stark white,
old.
2003. Yes, exactly.
And also, you have to worry about spoilers.
That too. Well, with the Lurker's Guide stuff, don't they like not because it was written when the show was coming out?
Yes, I forgot
So
that.
generally, you don't have to worry too much about spoilers on the Lurker's Guide. The wiki is where that happens. Yeah, I was trying to think if I had anything else big, but no, I think this was a really strong episode. This is like what B5 season 5 can be, you know, like get these little zoom ins on parts of the world we didn't think we were gonna see. Even if it means we get to see Bester in a sweater, I'll take it. I'll take it any day of the week.
I want to see everyone in a sweater. Just one episode where it's all.
Well, the
pure-
problem is
pure
sometimes we
sweaters.
get people in casual clothes, and it's Sheridan in his like puke green button up, and you're like,
Yeah,
no,
yucky,
I didn't want.
Yucky.
Yeah, or
No, thank
you got Lockley Ivanova always in like the silky stuff, just answering the door.
Exactly.
Yeah, just for like no reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Um.
They don't have casual Fridays.
Oh my God, casual Fridays on B5 would be delicious. No, they do casual dinners instead, where they just get characters who don't belong together to eat dinner together. I'm so happy they brought that back in the second one. We'll talk about that too. But first, let's read some emails, folks.
Let's do it.
Okay, so Nick says.
Hell yeah.
So Nick says, I'm happy you learned to like Lockley. I'm going to go ahead and say if we had Ivanova instead in season 5, I don't know if she could have done as good of a job. The only thing missed is maybe a consequence of her latent telepathy.
Mm-hmm.
Fan fiction wise, fun. What would you have done with Captain Ivanova in season 5? Greatest possible plot would be a Susan plus Lita relationship. And mid-bang, Lita unlocks Susan to P20, and she becomes with a capital B in the greatest way possible. You got to have that capital B on the becomes. Absolutely. That's great. I like that.
I think that's exactly
That's
the
what
right
fan
plot
fiction-
that we were deprived of.
Yeah,
Yes.
if we're gonna get Captain Ivanova, we need to get her just schlepping around with all the ladies and becoming the ultimate like mega telepath. But like
Yeah, I
nobody
think
else
you-
realizes it. Like she goes most of the season being like, yeah, I'm like having like constant sex with Lita and like building my powers. And then they're like, we're in a war, and she's like, I can lift planes.
I'm Star Furious, and then she lifts things. Yes.
And then she becomes. Oh my God. But yeah, I do like Lockley. She's not as good as Ivanova, but she does the best with what she's given. What's this delicious coda at the end of the email though?
Oh, sorry, I didn't scroll down. I wasn't far enough.
Oh, no
And
worries, no
is it
worries.
too late? Yeah, sorry. And is it too late for MTV Awards for favorite couple for Londo and Jakar, and being played by you, Alan, as Londo, and Jakar being Magellan? Because they are just great together, and I'm looking forward to more coming. He didn't do a capital C on the coming for that.
Just coming, not becoming.
Just coming, yeah.
That's part of our ultimate dream, right? Is we want to get on a podcast panel to talk about Babylon 5, and we ideally would like to do it in character, in costume as Londo and Jakar, because that's just it's so
now
right.
The added idea or dream of being on MTV. Of course, yeah. I would love that.
It's about a 90s TV show. You got to have it set in the 90s.
Yeah, Carson Daly is going to present me the big asteroid or whatever, the meteor man, spaceman.
Oh, I love it.
Favorite couple. That's us. But it's weird because, like with all good couples, it's hard to determine which one's the guy and which one's the guy because I'm like, I definitely have like the body shape of Londo a little bit more, and I can do the accent pretty well. And Magellan definitely has like the theatrics of Jakar, but like we also could both play the opposite one really well. So it's like a beautiful synergy, I think.
Yeah. I mean, sadly, right now, Magellan sounds like a chain smoker like Andreas, so I think that's where he falls.
Oh, yeah. I'm off the clock right now.
Cool.
Okay, so next up we have an email not from Nick, but from Nicholas. Nikki.
Nikki.
Yeah. And Nikki says, "Hey guys, first time emailer. I stumbled upon Chatzylon recently. At first I thought, damn, I wished I'd caught it earlier so I can watch along with you. But after listening to the first couple episodes and having the option to hit next and not waiting a week, I find myself, quote, binging on A&M, which I think is us.
I think that's us. I think that might be the boys.
A&M, root beer. We're just big tall glass of root beer.
God, it's root beer too.
No, that's A&W, isn't it?
A&W, yeah.
But we're almost root beer. I'm up to season 4 and really have enjoyed the ride. B5 is a great pick, and I personally watch B5 once a year on DVDs. And yes, even with commentary, I'm a nerd, but also the two of you complement each other extremely well. And you guys remind me of a certain Narn and Centauri. LOL, but who is who, I wonder. What do you guys think? ? And that's Nikki from Long Island, so maybe I should do the whole thing over again. Hey guys. No, I'm just kidding. P.S. You guys already have a Nick, so I'll be Nikki. P.S.S. Kefir is the worst.
Big fact.
From Nikki. Thank you, Nikki, for emailing in. All first time, second time, third time, fifth time emailers are always welcome to send in their thoughts to the show, especially when they're as nice as that.
Yeah, that was deeply sweet. I think Nikki had actually sent us another email about Patreon stuff. So if you ever have questions about our Patreon and you want to ask, you can also hit us up. But it's pretty very straightforward. It's all on there, patreon.com/chatspot. You throw money at it and then we give you content. But yeah, I am happy for you to join us on this ride, Nikki. It sounds like you're having a good time. One of the things that keeps us having fun is that we're good buds, and we like, this chemistry comes from years and years and years of just doing this. It's built. You build a house on a house, as they say.
Yeah, they say that.
They always say that. And then again, yeah, we're both Wolando and both Jakar. But if I had to have my druthers,
we're in a quantum state. Yeah.
Exactly. We're neither one nor the other at any particular time.
Yeah.
Fabulous, folks. I have a short email and then one more long email, and that'll be it. So
okay, great.
Nick's referencing a tweet that I posted where I said, how much we would pay for fan art of Alan as Londo and Magellan as Jakar. You know how much? And then I Googled how much that would cost, and it was a lot. And I said, maybe that much. And he said, "Do you mean fan art of Alan as Londo and Jack Black as Jakar?" Which I love. That Magellan as Jack Black is.
Did I talk about that on the show?
I don't remember this. This sounds great.
I never before in my career as an educator, which hasn't been very long. It's only my third year teaching, but never before had I gotten the comparison that I look like Jack Black. And then all of a sudden, this school year, I have a 9th grader call me Jack Black, and then I have, independent of that, a bunch of 11th graders making jokes that I look like Jack Black. And then Alan sends a picture of me to a friend of his, or shows a picture of me to a friend of his, and that person says that I look like Jack Black. So I don't know what happened, but everybody thinks that I look like Jack Black.
I mean, he's got a very successful
It's all at
YouTube
once.
channel.
And he's a very cute man. But I just don't know why it's happening.
I mean, I can speak for myself, and I guess by extension, Nick, was at one point I had gained a bit of weight, and only facial hair I had was just a bit on the chin, and my hair got all curly. And just constantly in malls, just again, 11th graders kind of thing. All coming up to me saying I look like Seth Rogen during the fat Seth Rogen years, and I was like, "Oh no!"
Man,
it was
I've
my
gotten
motivation.
Seth Rogen also.
Yeah,
I've gotten that one.
I mean, Magellan, you are rocking and rolling like Jack Black. You're schooling people like Jack Black. How could you not like Jack Black? How?
I do like Jack Black. Don't throw Amine lyrics at me and besmirch me.
Don't come to not play, damn it. Yeah, and I think actually Jack Black heard that song and was like, "Thanks, Amine, I love you," which is very chill.
Yeah.
But yeah, Magellan would absolutely be Jack Black Jakar. No, I think it's a charming comparison.
I do too. I'm just joshing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just
caution.
I'm just caution. There's a hole in my mind.
Question before I forget. Pat, do you know, I've probably posted pictures of us before, but do you have an idea of what we look like, or do you have like an image from just hearing us?
I mean, only now that I've added you on Skype, I know what you look like, but Magellan is some weird cartoon that he drew, so I don't actually know what you guys look like until...
Yeah.
Oh, he's Jack Black.
Yeah. Well, now I know.
Let me find a picture for you.
Yeah.
It's just this guy, Jack Black.
He sings
Perfect.
to kids about being the teacher's pet, stuff like that.
I'm always fascinated by what people think we look like, even though I'm like, I kind of want to like post an image of us sometime, but then I'm like, it's kind of fun to enjoy the mystery. Anyways, we're just humans. This last email is also from Nick, your brother. He says, Byron, not as bad as some would say. Fouls.
I think
Sorry,
he's
Nick,
fine.
you're
I
wrong.
think I came out thinking that he's fine.
I don't hate him. I think the Byron hate that we got like on Twitter, for example, was a lot, but he's just
He's
nothing
not good, I will say.
I think it's just there was so many episodes of him.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. That's a good point. He says, the actor did fine. I would have preferred an actual telepath war, but I guess that works better as something seen off screen rather than actually dealing with a war when half the actors are squinting really hard with others claiming there are spiders everywhere.
Yeah.
Which is a funny point. I always assumed the weird background effect for the Lita and Byron final conversation was in fact a telepathic conversation. Things almost frozen as they communicate faster by the mind than spoken out loud, hence the odd background.
Oh,
Interesting
okay.
idea, maybe not totally pulled off though.
Right,
okay. I'll buy it.
Especially with this episode where everybody talks verbally at the Psychor headquarters and no one talks telepathically.
Right, exactly.
Damn.
Given Laurel Takashima was meant to be the host of Control before Talia and be the sleeper agent for Psychor, let's assume she comes back during the telepath war with all the other sleepers but doesn't get a name drop like Ben Kyle does. Yeah, she's just around. She exists. It's the fun thing about B5 canon is everyone exists. They're not like erased really. The Drazi are the oldest kids in middle school trying to hang out with the high school kids, like the Centauri, the humans, and the Narn.
Oh my god, that's exactly right.
Right. They're like, guys, no, we're cool. Like, you guys like us, right? And then he does a big brain meme. Small brain watching B5 for the 10th time. Medium is watching it for the first time. And big brain is watching B5 for the first time, but totally not paying attention and realizing the plot was totally different later on a podcast.
Is that a drunk reference, I think? Yes.
Well, I didn't realize that
Alan not
Garibaldi.
understanding the core of Garibaldi's character conflict.
Right, exactly. Thank you very much, Nick. I appreciate the gentle roasting, the gentle chestnut roasting on the fire. We had some funny tweets before we go. Shout outs to Olivia, co-host or previous guest host. Says really appreciate the chat's kids' ability to seamlessly fire off on any tangent. One metaphor about eating your vegetables first, and now I'm learning about different ways to prepare green beans, which I adore because we don't even realize sometimes that we're not talking about the show, and then I'm like, oh wait, yeah, the show's happening. Don't forget I said things that are essential to chats. 50% is Babylon 5, the other 50 is cooking, Vine references, shipping, and bad impressions. And she said, don't forget things I think are funny editing jokes until I find out later they weren't intentional. Like the intro music insistently playing under an extended opening, which apparently sincerely cracked her up on the train. So I like it when my editing mistakes go appreciated. Thank you, people. And Linda says, great work as always, Chatspot. I appreciate your thoughts on the Byron plot, especially considering how messy it gets at times. And I can't wait to hear next week's episode, especially with regards to my son, Veer. And also a fun fact, Skal, which is what Garibaldi says to his friend on the Drazi homeworld, is cheers in Swedish. And then she's corrected by user Catfish, who says it's actually literally cheers in Danish. So, yeah, fun fact. I had a feeling it was just like cheers in a language that I don't know. That makes sense. Wonderful. I always appreciate the feedback, folks. Thank you very much for sending those in. Pat, I have a question for you. What's your chatsum for this week? Would you like to plug something? Do you want to tell the kids to try something, do something, watch something?
I'll say two things real quick. Right now I'm reading Prelude to Foundation, which is one of Isaac Asimov's great books.
Hell yeah.
If you've never read Foundation, read the originals, read the prequels, and maybe you can skip the ones he wrote in the 80s, the sequels. But Asimov, definitely check it out if you like science fiction, especially the Asimov rules that are mentioned with the Garibaldi brain conditioning. And then a YouTube channel I discovered not too long ago. The YouTuber's name is Jessie Gender, and she just knows science fiction really, really well. And she made this really good video about women's roles and portrayal in Star Trek over the whole history, and how maybe not so great progressive Star Trek is, but how you can still enjoy Star Trek and just know what it's about, So that would be my two things to say. Like, those are both really good.
That sounds awesome. Oh my god, this looks like a great channel. The Ethics of Art. Oh my god, this looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Ranking every Mirror Music episode.
Yeah. Yeah, she drops a video at least every Friday and has some small ones here and there if there's a Picard trailer. But yeah, she's really good.
I'm excited. All right, fantastic. Cool. Well, Pat, I really appreciated having you on this episode. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
For being here. That was very fun, and we'd love to have you on again soon, as we're also going to have your sibling on soon. So
the war has stepped up.
The war, exactly. We're past bidding wars now, and now we're into just who can be on the podcast more. And
well, he's got a 20 email lead on me, so I had to find something.
Exactly. Cool. Well, thank you so much, and we'll be right back after this brief musical break to discuss Meditations on the Abyss.
Welcome back to Chatzylon 5. The second episode we watched this week was Season 5, Episode 14, Meditations on the Abyss. It was written by Jay Massey, directed by Michael Vehar, aired May 27th, 1998, and it takes place July 13th to 15th of 2261. Alan, what happened in Meditations on the Abyss?
2262, my love.
What did I say, 8?
2261.
What?
It sounded like you fell into a fugue state when you started doing this summary, and I was like, where are you? Are you reading the same thing I'm reading?
Oh my gosh.
You're too sick for this. It's okay.
I literally heard you in my mind go 22, a 62, which you've done on the show before, but I guess I must have said 60 something else.
You said 61.
Oh, I don't feel well. 62.
It's okay. You're okay.
I'm looking into the abyss myself.
You're meditating on the abyss.
Yeah. Leave this cough in so people can hear how bad it is.
Oh, poor baby. I'll keep that one in.
Okay, edit the rest out. Thanks.
It's been a month since the last episode of Babylon 5. April 15th and then May 27th.
What?
Yeah. The last Korra's mother is April 15th and then Meditations is May 27th.
Oh, man.
They just take breaks.
Yeah. That
Love
sucks if you're watching it live.
Definitely. But this episode is a bit of a treat because in this episode, on a mission to the edge of Centauri space, Lanier both teaches and learns. John Sheridan struggles to keep the interstellar alliance together, and meanwhile, Drazi agents plant a bug in Londo Malari's quarters and face the wrath of Veer Cotto.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I want to jump right in and say that I really loved Meditations on the Abyss. I thought for what we're getting, like for this like sort of little bit fillery, little bit just kind of like light episode.
Yeah, a little bit of Monica in my life.
Exactly. You need to write Chatzylon number 5.
I know I still haven't done it.
But yeah, Meditation on the Abyss. It's just
Let me
fun.
crowdsource it. If anyone wants to help me write a parody of Mambo number 5 called Babylon number 5, by the end of the show, we need to do that and record at
an Applebee's.
An Applebee's.
Yes.
Why are you mocking me?
I don't know why my brain
coughing?
decided to do that. I'm so sorry.
Oh my god.
Rude. Extremely rude.
Very rude.
Also rude is Delenn waking up Sheridan in the middle of the night. He's got work to do. And
Yeah.
she's like,
sorry, honey, I'm going to go touch hands with a stranger and then my secret boyfriend. I'll
exactly.
be back.
It'll be fine. And he's like, okay, leave the light on.
Yeah.
She covers up in a robe and heads over to the Zocalo. She's harassed. Oh, I'm so sorry, Majan. I didn't ask you what you thought of the episode.
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. Wow. She.
It's not. I just don't want to talk right this second.
That's fair. Yeah, that's. I got you.
Talk.
She's harassed by a nasty garbage man who's like, "Man, you're really pretty. I wonder what you look like under your robes." And she's like,
Yeah.
Give me your hand. Let's have hand sex."
And then he's like, "You're gonna wake up next to me." Like the most. Like, whoa, buddy.
Boy needs to go to jail for life immediately.
Yikes.
Instead, he gets the Delenn the way she treats men treatment, which is she clasps his hand and then breaks his finger right down the middle, which is
That was pretty sick.
fantastic. She's totally capable of handling herself in this scene, but a mysterious other cloaked figure defends her as she walks away. And I'm like, ugh, is it Lanier? Shut up. And then it is Lanier, and I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
Lanier's back, everyone, our friend.
Yeah.
He meets her in like a secret vent space, like a really beautifully lit, like like crawl space.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I'm back for a little while. I miss you. And they have this really great, like, honest character conversation about, like, you know, how long it's been and how, like, I haven't seen you since the Day of the Dead. And, like, Morden spoke to me and he said I was going to betray the Anla Shock. And, like, I'm worried about that, but I'm doing my best. So, you know, I think Lanier becoming more honest with himself is one of the more appealing parts of this episode.
It's so intimate.
This scene, yeah.
And then Delenn, she like, it's really weird because she touches his face and says like, "Where'd this come from?" And that feels kind of manipulative, but also maybe genuine. And then he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go." And then she's like, "Wait, you don't have to go yet." And that feels totally genuine. So I don't know what's going on there. I think there's a little love in these eyes.
Yeah, there's at least something there because, like you said, you had texted me like there's more actual like sexual chemistry here than there is ever between her and Sheridan.
Oh yeah,
and I think part of that is just it's obviously the nature of their relationship, but also like she is now.
Well, also they don't
like,
love each other. That's also a big part of it too.
That's also what you could say is a big part of it.
Yeah,
but this is another Minbari that she's known her whole life. This is like one of the only Minbari that she's like this familiar with and comfortable with. So it's like somebody of her own culture who understands and appreciates her and has defended her for years. So I see where that like intimacy and comfort with each other comes from, but it's like it definitely feels a lot, and it almost a sort of swerve from the way that she was being like intentionally abusive and somewhat neglectful of him a lot in the past. Being like asking him for stuff, but clearly like telling him also that he's not the man for her.
Yeah.
But he's going onto a white. She sends him to go on board a White Star, basically to investigate the Centauri conspiracy. And then she's like, "You got to stay," and he's like, "Nope, I gotta get my head out of talking to you because I know this is not a good idea for me to just hang out with you." That's the part of Morden's message that he like doesn't tell her, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
It's great that the show knows that our attachés are often the best, especially when paired together, because the other big plot in this episode involves our boy Veer also coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And the parallels don't stop there, because they're both tested this episode. Mm-hmm. Veer brings back a bunch of fresh food to Londo's quarters because all he ate when Londo was gone was McBarries. He's like, "The one with the golden head bones," and they're like, "Yeah, the golden head bones." Like,
wait, did they really say that in the episode?
Yes, you didn't dream that.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
I didn't even
like,
catch that. I was like, that totally went over my head.
He nails the feeling that I have when eating fast food, which is like,
They
I know I
said
shouldn't.
McBarries?
Yes.
Fucking A.
The show's good. He's like, he nails the feeling I get of eating fast food, where he's like, I know it's terrible for me, and I always feel bad afterwards, but during, you're like, yes, Veer, it do be like that. That's fair.
Yeah. And Londo's like, somebody of your position shouldn't be doing that, and Veer's like, my position, and it's like, buddy, you're already an ambassador.
You were doing great.
Like, have a position.
What did you? You thought you were like just an attaché for the rest of your life? No, even being an attaché to an ambassador is a big deal. Like, what are you doing? I guess he just has imposter syndrome, which I can also relate to.
Yeah, big mood.
before Londo tells Vira that before he tells him that, he like looks for wires because I guess Londo's pretty smart about this stuff now.
Yeah.
And it looks like the Drazi who sold Vira the bread that they bought planted one in the bottom of the bag. So they do this really fantastic like bit about how Drazi women will have sex with anyone that asks because they'd prefer that to having sex with their own mates. And it's like Londo is just reveling or just devouring this scene. You get to watch.
It's pretty delightful.
You get to watch Peter Jurasik talk about sex, and that's really all I want in life.
Yeah.
This comes back later hilariously, but before we get there, Lanier is introduced to the weirdly sexy Captain Enrique Montoya.
Yeah, he gives his name a little twist, a little flair.
Yeah, you can't say that name without saying Enrique Montoya, and it's like, okay, I get it. You're okay.
Captain Enrique Montoya.
It's nice to have a little bit of culture on Babylon 5 or on the show, I guess.
Right.
He calls the ship Maria after his dead sister. This is like one of the cornier things. This guy.
Yeah, that moment where Lanier's like Maria, and then he's like, "Yeah, my sister," and Lanier's like, "Well, where is she?"
He's like, "With the stars."
Yeah, she's dead. That's why there's a ship named after her.
You don't name a ship after someone who's alive. That's dumb. I feel like I've had that exact thought before. Maybe they talked about that in Babylon 5, actually. How you can't name a ship after someone who's alive. I loved this next scene I noted here. Jakar busts into a meeting with Sheridan with like the most Professor Farnsworth from Futurama energy because he comes in like, "Good news! I just ran in to talk to Franklin."
Yeah.
He says that my
new eye today.
At last, I'll finally have a matched set. It's like, Jakar, when did you become like this beautiful? I love it. This is the Jakar I feed off of.
I want to just talk about the whole Jakar plot because it was my favorite part of the episode, to be honest.
Yeah, it's worth talking about for sure.
So he goes to get this new eye from Dr. Franklin, and they're hamming it up.
He talks about the book of Jakar because he's like, well, "Hey, Jakar, I got your book, and it has like a big stain on it, and every printing has it." And he's like, "Oh, they print everything exactly like the original with warts and all, and Garibaldi spilled coffee on my thing, and we kept it." And he said it's the best part of the book.
The best part of the book, yeah. And so Franklin's like, I'm like, I know I'm a scientist, but I believe in some pretty wacky shit, actually. I'd love to make you my new god. And Jakar's like, sure, come along.
Come to visit my next sermon. Franklin's like, I want to be a really woke leftist and like know every religion. So I'm just collecting religious texts.
Yeah, and I want to like stand slightly outside so that everyone's sort of weirded out by me. And I don't want to interact with any Narn because I, like many woke leftists, hold on to certain racist biases.
No, just at me next time, Jesus. This is a very common thing in TV portrayal of this kind of scene where they think it's like respectful, like I shouldn't go inside because I don't belong there. But like as someone who was raised Christian, most of the time, the respectful thing is to like try to like participate or just sit down.
Get in here, buddy.
Get in here. Don't be weird, because then, like you said, you're attracting attention to yourself.
Yeah, and everybody's thinking about it.
Exactly. Everyone's like, is he
That's why they're all trying to look like they're asking the big questions. They're not asking Jakar who's God and what's truth when Franklin's not there.
No, they're just like, what are the minutes on the meeting today? Like, who ordered the pizza? And like, what did you guys watch on TV last night? And this time they're like, what is God? I love because Jakar is giving him like stories, basically just doing like Plato's allegory of the cave. Like there's a light and the light is God. And they're like, really? And he's like, yeah, but also knowledge is a river and God. And they're like, what's God? And he's like, God is the mouth of the river. Or truth is a river and God is the mouth of the river. They're just like, wait, what does that mean?
No, it's cool because he's trying to make this like humanist point where he's basically saying like there is no God. That's essentially what he's saying. Is like the pursuit of God is what gives life any sort of light and meaning. And actually, if you just were like, oh, okay, that's God, then you're going to live in darkness, which is a pretty cool way to think about like having a calling to a spiritual life, that a spiritual life is entirely about questioning and investigation and has nothing to do with the answers. because he says, like, my favorite part is towards the beginning where he says that the light, something like the light is not the purpose of the search, but the result of the search.
Right.
Or something like that.
The search is God also. Like the
Well, he's
process
like,
of getting there is what it is.
He doesn't even definitively say what God is or isn't. He's just like, yeah, maybe he says the light is God, or it's like the closest thing that we have to what God is. And then he's like, but if you get in the way, you'll cast a shadow, blah, blah, blah. And nobody's getting it. They're like, just tell us God is real. So I think this scene, it's a little hammy, especially the ending where they're like, oh, yay, great, he gave us the simple answer, is kind of goofy. But I do think that JMS is trying to make a pretty astute point about, like, where can religion go right and where can it go wrong. And religion goes right when it encourages kind of like searching, active participation, and it goes wrong when people are like, I'm just looking, just tell me the answers so that I can stop thinking about this and go somewhere else.
Right. That's because that's a 101 reading of religion is like people are just going to ask can I get the answers at the end of the book, and that there is an answer. But the whole point is that there is no answer. He says the search is the goal, you know.
Right.
The more intense the search, the brighter the light on the wall. I'm going to just drop a lot of clips from that speech because it really is fantastic.
What is truth? And what is God?
You don't really want an answer to that question.
Yes, I do. Please.
If I take a lamp and shine it toward the wall, a bright spot will appear on the wall. The lamp is our search for truth, for understanding. Too often we assume that the light on the wall is God. But the light is not the goal of the search. It is the result of the search. The more intense the search, the brighter the light on the wall. The brighter the light on the wall, the greater the sense of revelation upon seeing it.
And Andreas Katsoulis drops it like it is the most fire TED Talk of all time.
Yeah.
He's so committed to it, which I love. And I also love thinking about this conversation when you think about like the Narn and their history as a people that have been lost for so long and are searching for meaning now that they're post like the biggest war of their culture, or somewhat post-war, I guess. Just being like, what do we look for now? And like, what is our purpose? It actually bears some similarities too to like when the Minbari were after the Earth Minbari War, and they talked about how like the religious caste kind of like ran out of stuff to do for a while.
Yeah, right.
Because they're like, what do we pray for? So that stuff is really fantastic. And again, it's just it is very silly just to cut to a clearly filmed separately shot of Franklin like lit and having his hands on his hips. Like, yeah, I like what you're saying. But if Franklin talking to Jakar is how we get scenes like this, then I'll take more of him asking these kind of questions.
Yeah, me too.
So that stuff is really fantastic. And meanwhile, we have the two young boys being tested this week. We have Veer and Lanier. We were talking about Lanier and how he's on the ship with Montoya, and he's introduced to the other young Minbari boy whose name is like Brinkley. It's not literally Brinkley.
Yeah, it's something like that.
I got to know all the names on the show. That's my one rule. So let me just find it. It's Findel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, not right.
Hey guys, it's me, Findel. Findel is new to the Onlashok as well, and the two of them talk for a while about like, what are we doing here, and like, what's the deal, and what's our purpose here. And they're sent out on a mission to like remotely go into space and do like some recon. And while they're out, they are quickly abandoned as the Maria goes into hyperspace and leaves. And Findel is freaking out, like, wait, what happened? Why did they do this to us? Like, why did they betray us? And then it's basically just an opportunity for Lanier to like show his devotion to the Onlashok and his attempt to be devoted, because he's worried about like, is this the moment where I'm going to abandon them or betray them? Mm-hmm. And just as they're starting to run out of oxygen, the Maria comes back, and they're like, guys, it was a test to see if you understood that like the ship takes priority over its passengers, and like you guys should be okay to die if it means that we're going to survive. But it was fake. Which I've been reading Naruto lately. Like right now, I'm reading it. I'm like partway through the first major like exam arc where the ninja, it's like ninja school stuff.
Yeah.
And they have an exam. This is like 15-year-old manga at this point, so I don't feel bad spoiling it. But there's an exam called the Chunin exams where the first test is a written test where you're in a team of 3, and it's like a 10-question exam. And if you answer all the questions, and your score with your teammates starts at 10 and subtracts every time one of you gets one wrong. And if one of you fails, then all 3 of you fail. So it's supposed to like build teams and like build teamwork and trust. But they give them the 10th question, which is like, hey, we're not going to tell you the 10th question yet until, 45 minutes into the exam. And then they get to that point and they're like, okay, here's the rule with the 10th question. If you choose to do it, it's really hard. And if you get it right, you pass the exam. If you choose it and get it wrong, you can never take the Chunin exams again. You can never advance as a ninja.
Oh, wow. That's intense.
You cannot. Your teammates can, but you cannot. You can also opt to not take the question, and you can come back in a year, but your whole team fails also.
Oh, wow.
And then Naruto, being the dumbass that he is like, I clearly don't know how to do this. His teammates are thinking like, please tell him he just needs to drop out and we can take the exam. And then he's like, I'll take it. And then the guy's like, good job, you all passed the exam. Because it was
the test is like choosing to take it.
Yes. And I was like, ugh. And a lot of people hate that because it's like, it's just an opportunity to be like, isn't Naruto good? Even though he's a complete idiot and he would have never passed the test. Mm-hmm. But it's like, it's definitely that. And also the first part of the test was just a test. It was to examine if they could cheat. It was like the first 9 questions are really hard and they're meant to see if you can cheat. The second half is to see if you're willing to be self-sacrificial. And it's like, ugh, Naruto's dumb. But this reminded me of that because it was like, you really were going to put these boys in danger to see if they can, like devote themselves fully to the cause. Like imagine an army exercise. Realistically, imagine like an army exercise where they're like, okay, we're just going to like dump you out into the middle of the desert.
Well, yeah, bro. The Rangers are psychotic. Yeah, the Rangers are nuts.
This is I think a really severe and bad way to build loyalty. Yeah. Especially because what we learn is that Montoya can actually hear everything that they were saying on the comms, and he was also testing whether or not they would give up like to each other. Mm-hmm. Because they afterwards they're sent on another mission where Findel is like, I'm not devoted enough. Like Lanier tells him like, oh man, you have to be part of the Rangers for a good reason. Which delicious irony, Lanier being like, you need to come here for good. Delicious irony. Right.
The dude's like, my friend died, or like my brother died, so that's why I'm here. And Lanier's like,
that's a really bad reason to sacrifice your whole life.
Yeah, that's not a good one. Anyway, yeah, why am I here? My friend died, and I like a girl.
And I don't want to be around her anymore because it makes me too sad. So I'm gonna be in the army instead.
Yeah.
And so they're sent on another mission where it's like, again, very, very like that Naruto thing I'm talking about where it's like each ship has to destroy 10 targets and there's 40 targets and 3 ships. So one of you is going to fail. Or there's like 39 ships to kill. So somebody has to fail. Findel figures this is designed for him to fail. And so he gets ready to give up and die. Because he can't leave the Rangers. He's like, I guess I'll die. So he attempts to commit suicide by ramming his ship into a rock. Lanier rescues him by shooting him off course. And then in front of Findel, Montoya gets mad at Lanier and says, you receive a 0 on the exam for friendly fire and you fail and you're bad.
Yeah, he was like, you get a failing note.
And he reassigns Findel to go back to Minbar, where, again, in a moment of attempted poetic irony, he will work as a recruiter to make sure that the people who want to join have good reasons to join. Which, I don't know. What did you think about that? Especially due to the fact that he then goes, just kidding, Lanier, you're fine. This was all training for you too, but I wanted him to learn that lesson from you, so thanks.
Well, as a teacher, I'm sort of filtering this all through that perspective, and peer-to-peer teaching is a great way for the peers to understand things, to reinforce their mastery. and to explain things to their peers in a new way, or a way that maybe you wouldn't listen to. So in that sense, that's pedagogically appropriate. I'm sort of interested in the grading scale that he's using. It seems like he's just using failing, neutral, and passing. I don't really know how you could be neutral on the question of whether or not you've achieved mastery of a particular standard. That doesn't really seem to work that way. And I think the equitable thing would be to let Findel reassess on this particular assessment to see if he has attained new mastery, or if the feedback that he received from his peer was effective or sticky for him. Because otherwise, really, this assignment feels more punitive than it does, reflective of Findel's summative performance.
Your ability to flip that switch on is incredible. Turn it off, though. Turn that switch off. You're not at work right now.
I literally spent all day at a professional development talking about grading. Grading
stuff like this.
So.
Right. It feels, it's interesting. That's why I was like, this episode's really fascinating, because it got my brain spinning in cool ways. And I'm like, oh, that is like, I guess that is a way to teach people. But like
it's
letting
sort of
them
a cruel purgatory that they're putting Findel into, of like he's under the impression that Montoya doesn't know that he's like a coward. So or not a coward, but that he's in it for the wrong reasons. So has to live thinking that he's keeping a secret when he's not. It's like, why do that to the guy? That seems cruel.
That's the part, you're right, that he ends the conversation. He's like, all right, Linear, you did great. Anyways, that guy's going to go live on Minbar forever and recruit people, which is a sad fate.
But Findel's not doing anything wrong for being in the Rangers for the wrong reasons. So they should just tell him, like, hey, go home, man.
Yeah.
Get another job. Instead of this weird, like, yeah, we're going to use you to filter out so we don't get any more people like you. That's your fate.
Filter out yous. Filter out Findels. No Findels allowed. Yeah. That's the dark part of it. That's like the bummer.
Yeah.
So I think that stuff is interesting, but this is ultimately more of a like opportunity to teach Lanier that maybe he does have the right reasons if he gets his head in the right order.
He certainly has the skills.
Yes. He can talk the talk really well.
Yeah, I don't think that he's convinced himself that he's in it for the right reasons, though.
Right.
Or maybe he's starting to see that they're the wrong reasons.
Yeah. And, this is his arc of learning. He's being tested and learning and challenging himself. Like, even having to go back and talk to Delenn was a bit of a test for him. Like, can you still do this? Like, can you still be friendly to this person who needs you in a lot of ways?
Yeah.
And so he's being challenged in these ways that I just find very, like, interesting for him.
Right.
But it's not over yet. The other test this episode is happening to Veer, who takes the slight to Londo's privacy very personally. And he goes and visits the Drazi who sold him the bugged bag. The man is like, Veer, you're a weak idiot, and you can't stand up to anyone.
Everybody's seen Babylon 5.
Yeah, we all laugh at you. Nobody likes. You're no one's favorite character because this guy's wrong.
Yeah.
And they're like, you suck, so get out of here. And he's like, okay. And he leaves. And then, as if it's a sitcom where Londo's room is like 2 feet over, he just goes to Londo's room. And Londo's just like chilling. And he's like, hey, hold on. Let me just snag this sword off the wall. And I'm like, I literally, it was like, Jameis does right with this type of humor, like where it's sudden escalation of violence. But I actually like that this didn't really get violent. Like, he didn't kill the Drazi. Instead, he brings the sword to the guy just to swing it around and be like, this is what you get for fucking with Londo. Don't you ever fuck with my dad boyfriend. And then, again, Londo is just in the corner like, I've never been so proud in my life.
Yeah.
This man will be the next ambassador. And, again, question of, like, why does... I guess just like you care to defend your honor. Well, I guess I understand that.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's played for laughs and it's funny, but it also is kind of like Veer's character is changing in negative ways.
Yeah.
He's adopting the parts of Londo and Centauri culture that are kind of gross.
The pride and the self-defensiveness and the nationalism,
right.
Sure.
Like violence and, yeah. The superiority, all that is like kind of gross, but it's funny.
Yeah,
But it's
if
not
there's
great
anything
for Veer.
positive from Veer doing this, it's like he's learning to take control. That's the thing that will make him hopefully someday emperor. Is like if someone slights you, you need to show retribution in some way. Even if it's not like killing them, but like you can't walk away from someone talking to you like that.
Yeah, and the question of Veer's character is like, can you take power without it corrupting you? Can you take control, or can you carry out these actions without them corrupting you? Because like, same thing with his contempt of Morden's impaled head, or his killing of Cartagia. It's like, can Veer still be Veer and still be like a, moral, righteous leader?
Yeah.
If he gives into these fits of like, I'm gonna scare the shit out of you with this sword.
Right. Violence and fear are not the tools for Veer. Nah.
Cute.
And then here's the weirdest ending. No, this is not the ending scene. This is the second to last scene. But we haven't gotten like the crew of Babylon 5 eats dinner together for a while.
I thought this was cute.
It was cute. It's just, again, remember like when we were in season 2, we were like, why does Kefir get to eat dinner with people or go to the bar with people? I guess Zach Allen is the head of security, so I understand it.
Yeah, this makes sense. This table makes total sense.
This makes much more sense. It's Zach, Delenn, Franklin, and I think Sheridan.
Yeah,
yes, Sheridan, because Sheridan has the most bonkers line of all time. Not literally, but he says, man, I kind of wish the bug worked. I wanted to know if Londo's lying to us. And it's like, you cartoon moron. Like, what do you... I wish we
For
could
a second,
surveil
the way they were
everyone.
looking at each other in the room, I thought that they had planted it.
Right. When
Yeah.
they're like, I wish that thing that we planted actually worked out. Is that the implication? Maybe it is.
No, it's not. I thought it was the implication, but the fact that they're like, we should have thought of that means that they didn't.
I see. So it was actually the Drazi. But then, yeah, just the fact that he's like, man, that would have been nice, right? Like, Sheridan, you're not a nice guy, dude. You're not like...
Yeah.
And obviously this is like said in jest to his friends, but it's kind of like you still have to be morally right a little bit, man. You can't just go full police state.
Right.
And when you're hanging out with your pals. Meanwhile, once again, they're like, what's going on with Garibaldi? Did anybody talk to him or call him? They're like, oh, I forgot. I'm like, oh, he's busy doing who knows what. And then we cut to a scene that I definitely want to talk about. Garibaldi's again drunk off of his ass in his room in the dark, ordering a pizza on the floor. He's singing about how he's tired and wants to go to bed. He's singing about the empty glass. And what was the order again? I would like some sausage and some pepperoni and mushrooms. And what do you call them? Sun-dried tomatoes.
Yeah. And then he calls it a suicide pizza.
I want a suicide pizza and I want it right now, which, like, Jesus Christ.
And the guy at the pizza shop sounds like he works for security because he's like, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Right away, sir.
Yes, right away, sir. I'll bring you your pizza.
And then we just get like an above, like it's as if it's like the ceiling fan, just like above him passing out, being like, I'm drunk and I want to go to sleep. This is weird because it's definitely like funny and relatable to see somebody drunk wanting a pizza, but then it's also like extremely sad.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like that is the emotional space that Babylon 5 likes to play in. Where it's like, why this is sad. And we don't have to tell you. Like, they don't have to film this, like, with sad music and, like, black and white.
They do have, like, super corny, dramatic music playing underneath it, though.
True. By the end, it's like, yeah.
He is wrong.
Not again.
Yeah.
But it's not fully played as, like, this is sad. You should know this is sad, which I think is good. It's, like, respecting the viewer a good amount. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's like repeating the beats of a lot of the other cliffhangers of previous episodes, actually. It feels like we've gotten now 3 episodes in a row that end with, like, Garibaldi's drinking. Which is bad. It is very bad. But let's see that get exposed, and let's see what happens. That's the part that I'm interested in. I'm not really interested in, like, him secretly falling apart. I'm interested in, like, how do his friends respond when they discover what's going on?
Right. And it's like, why aren't they asking yet?
Yeah, right.
Like what? And maybe that's just like We assume he's okay. We haven't talked to him in a while. We have other stuff going on, but it is really depressing that they're just like, oh, what's Garibaldi up to? Oh, probably nothing. He's fine. And then we cut to him and he's super not fine. Because I think another important like aspect of a story about like substance abuse is it often is so hard to know when to ask for help.
Right.
Like he's not going to be asking for help anytime soon. So I imagine like they're going to have an episode soon where somebody like comes on the ship, someone like, what the fuck is Lise up to? Where's Lise, you guys? By the way, can I have Lise? I think she's in an upcoming episode. I might have read that somewhere, but I want like Lise to come back and be like, buddy, I came to tell you I love you. Wait, what the fuck? What are you doing to yourself? Because that's what he needs right now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I like my guy, and I want to see him do well.
Yeah, same.
I think that's going to do it for this episode, Magellan.
Yes, sir.
If you don't mind, could you tell me what we are watching next week on Chatzylon 5?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir. Next week, we are watching 2 more episodes of Babylon 5 Season 5. First, Season 5, Episode 15, Darkness Ascending. Lanier's discovery of the Centauri's involvement in the shipping line attacks promises to cause an all-out war.
Oh, hell yeah. We get Lanier figuring things out. I'm into that.
Yeah, Lanier figures things out.
Wait. Fingers? Okay.
That's what he said. Then, Season 5, Episode 16, And All My Dreams Torn Asunder. Sheridan announces the Centauri's guilt.
Oops. Whoopsie.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, we knew that was going to happen, probably.
Yeah, no, certainly. I mean, we also know that they're not guilty, so that's more like, and then they're going to deal with that.
Right.
Lord willing and the Creek Don't Rise, it looks like we're going to be having a guest on for that second episode.
Very exciting.
All My Dreams Torn Asunder, a exciting one for sure.
Time is running out in Season 5, folks, so if you want a guest on an episode of Chatzylon 5 related to Babylon 5, now's the time. There's also a lot of open spots when it comes to Crusade. Anybody who requests to be on the show, we will say, get on here. And we especially love it when, we forgot to mention this, but when folks like Pat, who was on the first half, who are Patreon contributors, consistent Patreon contributors, when they're on the show, we love that even more. So thank you, Pat, for being on, and thank you for your support of the show.
Yeah. Speaking of support, ways you can do that. You can always send us emails. Chatspod@gmail.com is our email address. That's CHATZPOD. If you have questions or comments, we will read those on the halfway point of the show every week if we get them. We also have a Twitter account @Chatspod where you can get updates about the show and chat with us in a sort of fun social media format. Newly announcing, if you would prefer to speak to us, but you don't have the time to coordinate guesting on an episode, we are accepting voicemail comments.
Yeah.
This is one of those things where I was like, wait, why aren't we doing this after a certain point? Yeah, just if you have a microphone and you have thoughts about Babylon 5, about any episode, or you just want to send us a comment, record that, put that in an MP3 file. Try to keep it under like 2 minutes if so, just because, that's going to go in the show and we don't want people to just like hear the same thing for too long. But so you can say whatever you want. And again, chatspod@gmail.com, send those over and we will listen to and play your voice on the podcast.
Yeah.
Consider rating us on iTunes as well. That's a good way to get the show's name out there. And if you'd like to support us and get some bonus content, please, please, please check out patreon.com/chatspod. That is the home for all of the Chats bonus content. For just a couple dollars a month, you get such fun shows as Commentary Chats, where Magellan and I watch a movie every month and talk over it. Chats Nights, where every other week we have people on or just hang out ourselves and talk about who the heck knows. We have all sorts of fun nights episodes. Yeah. We've had Magellan's mom on recently. We have a friend coming on right for another one soon. We did old ones where we did questions to each other, get real personal, talk about old TV. We read a short story. We got all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And then at $5 a month, you get the ultra special show. It's called Pilot Chats. On Pilot Chats, Magellan and I, every other week, we watch the pilot of a TV show and we talk about it. We now have 8 episodes of Pilot Chats, so we're cranking through.
Yeah, our most recent one was on Sense8, the other JMS program, and we really liked it and had a lot to say, so you should check that one out. It's a fun discussion.
Yeah, it's a beefy episode, so check those things out. Patreon.com/chatspot. Again, just $5 a month gets you all of that content. So
yeah. By the way, we're considering we're trying to hash this out and brand it. But we're considering when we hit $75 a month to just kind of release like some snackums to start kind of like just bonus pieces of audio. I think we've touched on this briefly, but old recordings that we did or just other things that will get unlocked if we hit 75. So if you are considering supporting, you should really jump on the train, and maybe we'll send some new stuff out there.
Indeed. Now, Magellan, what is your chat sim for this week?
Oh man, have we talked about the Nintendo Switch?
Not in a chat sim context.
So I just recently got a Nintendo Switch.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, howdy, can you believe this thing? You can take it mobile. You can play it as a console. Oh my gosh. It's like it can do both. And the little things on the side, you can take them off. They can be mobile. They can turn into two separate controllers. Why are people talking about this thing more? Oh my god. This is incredible. I've been playing Smash on the freaking train.
Isn't that crazy? What? You're just unlocking characters, hanging out playing with Mario and company?
I'm looking forward to my hour-long commutes now because that's my Smash time.
That's when Daddy gets to Smash.
That's when Daddy gets his Smash going. Holy moly. It's fun.
Yeah, it's like the game console that I recommend to people who are just like, I want to see what's up with video games. Like, the Nintendo Switch is good. When we went to the Nintendo World Store in New York this past weekend, you and our friend Jim like bought a bunch of accessories, and it was very exciting. And then I realized that I love my Switch so much that I actually already own every single accessory that I could ever possibly want, because I can't. That's the platform.
Yeah.
It's lovely. Yeah, definitely. Always recommending the things like that. I have a chat sim as well this week, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, is that okay? Can I do it?
Yes.
May I see it?
May I see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Everyone has seen Steam Tabs at this point, right? That's not.
Yeah, I think we literally watched. We did a recite on Chat's Nights. Yeah.
God, that's what you get, folks. Patreon.com/chatspot. You get to hear us.
Yeah, we do a dramatic reading of the Steam Tabs video.
That's fantastic.
Maybe we should do a dramatic reading of that Jonathan Frakes video. Is that
oh my God! Yes, Jonathan Frakes. Yeah.
It's fiction.
It's fiction. We made it up. We
Not
referenced it so much this weekend. Oh.
Not this time.
And then we can do Drunk or something else. It'll be great. The French. Okay, so my chat sim for this week is a Netflix series that I watched actually on the bus to go visit Magellan. So I've been in a Halloweeny mood, and I've been watching like movies here and there. But I was like, what's the good, like, horror television is really blowing up these days, right?
Sure.
Now that American Horror Story is over, I think, it seems like everybody's trying to find their show that everyone gets really into this season. And a show I tried watching a while ago is Riverdale, which I kind of bounced off of just because, like, there's a lot of it. And its, like, style of trashy teen humor is good and exciting, but, like, I just don't like the main characters that much. I don't find them that fun.
Yeah.
And those same creators made a spin-off show, which takes place in the same universe, but it's like on a completely different corner of the area of the state. It's The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. So it's the Sabrina the Teenage Witch adaptation, direct to Netflix. You got Kiernan Shipka as Sabrina the titular teenage witch, and you got Harvey Kinkle. And it gives me sweet nostalgia feelings for the 90s sitcom where Harvey's like the ultimate himbo, but also it's like really fun in its own right. It's a little bit campy, but it's also like kind of dark and like a little bit sexy, but not like annoyingly so. Like it strikes a really good balance between that like horror, comedy, mystery without any of those things feeling overwhelming or annoying. So I'm really enjoying it. I think I'm going to like blast through it at some point very soon.
Great.
It's not a lot. It's like 2 11-episode seasons, if I'm not mistaken. Check that out. Oh, 11 for the first one and 9 for the second one. That's not a lot of show. I'm going to need more than that. But anyways, you are going to need to come back next week because we're done here, folks. Thank you so much to Magellan for being my co-pilot this week.
Yeah, thank you for being my man.
And thank you, dear listener, for listening to this episode of Chatzylon 5. Peace.
Peace.